العلم أشراف مطلب وطالبه لله أكرام من يمشي على قدمه. العلم نور مبين يستضيء به أهل السعادات والجهال في الظلم.
طيب، الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين ما بعد. The next مسألة: ولا يؤمن الرجل في سلطانه ولا يقعد في بيته على تكريمته إلا بإذنه. طيب, the last مسألة was to do with who leads the salah, صح? Who has the most right to lead the prayer. This is a masala which is connected or related to that masala, which is in terms of when it comes to being the imam, the one that is looked at or that takes precedence of all that has preceded, the imam being memorizing the Quran and being more knowledgeable of the Sunnah and so on, is the Sultan al-A'zam, or the person who is the ruler. For in the past, the rulers or the hukam, they were the ones that used to lead the salah. طبعا the Imam al-A'zam or the Hakim in the past was the one who led the salah. Hence the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to lead the salah in his era, and after him Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and after him Umar used to lead the salah, and Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhum ajma'een. And even after them, even to the extent of to the era of Hajjaj, he used to lead the prayer because he was a Hafiz al-Quran and he used to teach the Kitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when it comes to the Imam al-A'zam, he has more right of leading the salah. Why? Because everything in the country comes under him. Likewise, a man being in his house, being in his home. So if you visit a person in their home, Sahibul Bayt, the one who owns the house, has more right of leading the salah than anyone else. So the last order isn't looked at when the person is in someone else's house or home, because the homeowner takes precedence. Also, there's another etiquette that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in the hadith: وَلَا يَقْعُدُ فِي بَيْتِهِ عَلَى تَكْرِيمَتِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. Also, he shouldn't sit in, or one shouldn't sit in the main sitting place of Sahibul Bayt, the person who owns the house. For obviously everyone knows that there's a certain position or there's a certain seat that everyone sits on. So, as soon as everyone comes in the house, there's a certain seat that people sit on. So if you know that that is the seat of the Sahibul Bayt or the person who owns the house, then you shouldn't sit in his seat. طيب. وينبغي أن يتقدم الإمام. Now, the Shaykh is moving on towards how to straighten the rows and how the Musallin should actually pray. The first one, the Shaykh says, وَيَنْبَغِي أَن يَتَقَدَّمَ الْإِمَامِ. The Imam should move forward. يتقدم الإمام وأن يتراصى المأمومون. Move forward, or يعني move back in this case, and tend to the lines, or go back to the lines of the Musallin and straighten them out. Straighten the rows out, as the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do when he used to lead the companions in the salah. So the Imam has to come back, look into the rows and straighten the rows. And there are many ahadith in which the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to command the companions to straighten the rows. From them, stawu wa la takhtalifu. Stawu, yani straighten up and do not differ, and do not be divided and do not differ in your rows. فَتَخْتَلِفَ قُلُوبُكُمْ. For verily, if you do differ in your lines, then تَخْتَلِفَ قُلُوبُكُمْ, your hearts will be, or your hearts will differ. طيب. Also the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أَقِيمُوا صُفُوفَكُمْ وَتَرَاصُوا. Straighten your rows and make sure they are straight, or get close to one another. فَإِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ مِنْ وَرَاءِ ظَهْرِ. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, verily, I see you from behind me. And that was the one of the special characteristics of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to see from behind him. Salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. وَيُكْمِلُونَ الْأَوَّلْ فَالْأَوَّلْ. Or بِالْأَوَّلْ. So in terms of completing the rows, the rows in the front should be completed before the rows in the back. A row shouldn't be made in the back before the row ahead has been filled. And a lot of times in the jama'ah, or especially in Jum'ah, you will find that people want to stay close to the doors, so that when the salah is finished, they can just immediately run out. And this is in a position or a contradiction to the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because from the Sunnah is that the rows are completed one before the other. طيب. ومن صلى فذا ركعة خلف الصف لغير عذر أعاده. This is another mas'ala. It is if a person prays behind the line, when he comes into the masjid, if he comes in and the Muslims are already in a line, or the Musallin are already in a line, and he comes and prays on his own. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that it is not permissible for him to pray. That's why the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi here says لِغَيْرِ عُذْرٍ, without having a valid reason. And the one that prays on his own, خَلْفَ الصَّفْ, behind the row, the one who prays on his own behind the row, لِغَيْرِ عُذْرٍ, without having a valid excuse or valid reason, then his salah is incorrect. طيب. So the reason is because if a person comes into the masjid and the lines haven't been filled, like he decides to stand in the back or in the middle of the rows and start a line, he has contradicted the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because there are spaces, or he'll be able to find spaces in the other rows. Lakin, Surah al-Mas'ala, have you understood how the Mas'ala is? Yani a person comes into the masjid and there is, the rows are, the 4 rows for example. In the 4th row, the one just before, as he enters in the 4th and the last row, there's space for him to go in. Lakin he decides to make a row on his own in the back, behind the 4th row. In this case, it is impermissible for him to do so. It's haram, and he needs to repeat the salah. طيب. He needs to repeat the salah. Lakin if he does so, or if he prays in the back for a reason, for a valid reason, then it's permissible for him to do so. For example, if the 4th and the last row is full, and there's no space for him to go into the 4th row, and the Imam has gone down for ruku', and he knows that if he carries on waiting for more Musallin to come, the Imam's going to rise from the ruku' position, then he should start the salah and carry on praying. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. He has feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the best of his ability. What a lot of people do, which is a mistake, is they tap the shoulders of someone that's in the back row, and that person comes out and he prays along with him. That isn't permissible, and the hadith that is narrated with that meaning is not authentic, as the ulama of hadith have clarified. Also, by doing so, by getting someone out of the row, you've created a hole in the row ahead. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited us from correcting, or prohibited us from leaving gaps within the salah, within the row. طيب. If a person walks into the masjid, or what is the evidence for that, having the ability to do so? The evidence is the hadith of Abu Bakr, a Sahabi, a companion, walked into the masjid, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions were in ruku'. He was in the back. He hadn't yet reached the last row of the men. So he started his salah in the back, while it's not reaching the row. So say for example where you are, where that road is now, that's where the salah was, or the last row was, or even behind. So this companion, whilst walking towards the row, he said Allahu Akbar, and he went down in a kneeling position, a ruku' position. طبعا the Imam, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the companions were in the ruku'. So he ran towards the salah, and when he was near the rows, he said Allahu Akbar, went down for ruku', and he walked towards the row. That can be used as evidence that it is permissible to pray in the back row whilst you're walking up, or to pray in a row behind the other row, or the last row. Because if he was to rise, if the Imam was to rise, then he would have missed that rak'ah. Lakin he reached that specific rak'ah. طيب. The next chapter, Bab Salat Ahl al-A'dhar. The next chapter refers to people who are not able to attend the salah. The jama'ah which we talked about, which we discussed its ruling, there are certain situations where it's permissible for the person to not attend the masjid. These excuses are of two types. General excuses and specific excuses. Yani general excuses where it affects the whole community, and specific excuses where it affects that individual. When we look into both of these. طيب. So Bab Salat Ahl al-A'dhar, the chapter dealing with people who have or who are excused from attending the Salat al-Jama'ah. And we look at the reasons why these people have been excused from doing so. Like in those who come under this chapter are the person who is ill. The ones that come under this chapter is number one, the person who is ill. Number two, the musafir, the person who is traveling. Number three, the khaif, the person who is in fear, in a state of fear. And we shall see other excuses as well. So the Shaykh says, rahimahullah ta'ala, وَالْمَرِيضُ يُعْفَى عَنْهُ حُضُورُ الْجَمَاعَةِ. The marid, the person who is ill, is excused from attending Salat al-Jama'ah. طيب. The illness, the marad that is being referred to here, that prevents a person or allows or excuses a person from attending the masjid, is the marad or the illness that has hardship with it. And it's hard for the Muslim or for this person to attend the masjid. It's hard for him to walk towards the masjid. Or he finds it extremely difficult walking towards the masjid, sitting for the jama'ah, praying with the jama'ah, and then walking back. And the evidence for that is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't made any hardship. In Surah Al-Hajj, verse 78, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't made hardship in your religion. Meaning that the religion is easy. And there's a qa'idah which can also be implemented from the Qawa'id al-Fiqhiyya al-Kubra, the 5 major principles with regards to the marid or the person who is ill, that finds it difficult to walk towards the masjid. What is this principle? Al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir. Ahsanti. Al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir. Al-mashaqqa, hardship, tajlibu, brings about at-taysir, ease. And that is a general principle. You can apply that with all of the things that we're going to say. So every time we mention someone, a situation where it's permissible for the person or excused, or the person is excused from attending the jama'ah, we'll mention the illah. The illah. And the illah is the reason why the ruling is as it is. Al-Illah. Knowing the Illah helps you combine many masail. For example, now, this masala, the person who is ill, is excused from attending the masjid. And the illah, or the reason why the person who is ill is excused from attending the jama'ah, is the mashaqqa, the hardship that comes about whilst trying to walk towards the masjid or go to the masjid, sitting in the masjid and then walking back. The hardship that is caused whilst walking towards the masjid. طيب. With regards to the marid, the person knows himself more than anyone. If a person has a slight headache, he can't say, I've got a headache, I can't go to the masjid. Or if lakin, everyone knows themselves. Everyone knows what is difficult for him or her. That's why in fasting, the month of Ramadan, مثلا, when two people are traveling from one city to the other, and they are travelers, and it's permissible for both of them to break their fasting, you may find that one is able to, or one of those travelers is able to fast as normal, without any hardship, without being thirsty, hungry, tired and so on. Like you find the second traveler is thirsty, hungry, and finding it difficult to cope with the fasting whilst traveling. So both of them are on the same journey, they're using the same form of transport, they're going to the same destination from the same location. لكن مع هذا A finds it difficult and B finds it easy. Therefore, issues to do with fasting, when a person can fast, the illness that a person can fast with, or the illness which can prevent a person from attending the jama'ah, that goes back to the person himself. And no one can tell you what you are able to do and what you can't do. طيب. والمريض يعفى عنه حضور الجماعة. Now, then the Shaykh, after talking about the marid, or the person who is ill, being excused from the jama'ah, he now talks about the way that the person should pray, the way that or the state that the person who is ill should or can pray. The Shaykh says, وَإِذَا كَانَ الْقِيَامُ يَزِيدُ مَرَضَهُ. If the standing, يعني this person who is ill, if he wishes to pray, like in the standing, يَزِيدُ مَرَضَهُ, it increases his illness, صَلَّى جَالِسًا, and he can pray sitting down. فَإِن لَمْ يُطِقْ, if he is not able to pray sitting down, فَعَلَى جَنْبٍ, then he is to pray on his side. لقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لعمران بن حسين, due to the statement of the Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم to Imran ibn Hussein, this companion, Imran, صلي قائما, pray while standing. فإن لم تستطع, if you are not able to stand, فقاعدة, then pray sitting down. فإن لم تستطع, and if you are not able to stand, or if you're not able to sit, فعلى جنب, then pray lying down on your side. رواه الإمام البخاري. طيب. The Shaykh says يزيد مرضه, if it increases in his illness. Like if it doesn't increase the illness, then a person has to pray standing up. For example, now a person is praying Salat al-Isha and he's ill. His illness is the same whether he stands or sits. In that case, it's not permissible for him to sit down. Why? Because in this situation, the standing will not increase his what? Illness. So it's the same whether he sits or stands in terms of the illness. In that case, it is wajib for him to pray standing up. That's why the Shaykh says, يَزِيدُ مَرَضَهُ. And if you remember when we were talking about fasting, the type of illness that prevents a person from fasting, or that can prevent a person from fasting, it's that which either increases the illness or delays the cure. Either increases or delays the cure. So when the Shaykh is saying Yazidu maradahu, and there's a reason why he said Yazid, if it increases his illness. طيب. In that case, صلى جالسا. على كل حال, the general principle is that the person prays according to his ability, based on this hadith. Lakin there's something very important that we have to understand. If for any reason a person isn't able to perform sujood, lakin they are able to stand, then they shouldn't pray on a chair. Many a times you will find that a person who can't perform sujood, for example, you'll find them praying on a chair. Now it's fine for them to sit on the chair in the position of sujood, because they are not able to go down. Lakin when it comes to standing, they're able to stand. When it comes to ruku', they're able to perform a ruku'. So for that sort of person, they should only sit on the chair when they're meant to go down for sujood, because they're able to stand. And standing is what in the salah? Is a pillar in the salah. And ruku' is what? Is what? Is also a sunnah, sah? It's a pillar in the salah. Meaning it is wajib for the musalli to do both of these, if they are able. Lakin often you will find that if someone cannot perform sujood, you will find them just sitting on a chair, thinking that they are excused from standing and going down for ruku'. طيب. If a person isn't able to pray on their side, what should they do? Meaning if they're not able to perform the least mentioned in this hadith, and the least position or the least mention or method mentioned in this hadith is what? Lying down on the side. What if a person isn't able to lie down on the side? What should they do?
Is it laying down mentioned in this?
Lying down. Naam. There's another narration in An-Nasa'i, I believe it was, that says that a person can pray lying down on their back, and not being able to move. And if they cannot pray like that, then as the brother said and the sister said, moving with the movement of the eyes. Ala kulli hal, that shows the importance of salah, because the salah does not, or the person is not excused from praying unless the soul leaves the body. That is the only time when it's permissible, or when a person cannot pray, physically or spiritually. Like in any time before that, the salah is always a wajib upon the Muslim. طيب. Now the Shaykh is moving on to, or the last masala in this, or two masail, is in terms of time. So when we talked about the person who is ill, we mentioned that he doesn't have to attend the jama'ah, sah? Firstly, he doesn't have to attend the jama'ah. Secondly, the way they pray the salah is going to be different to the way that what? That they would pray if they were fit. So in terms of jama'ah, they're excused. In terms of standing or sitting, then they are excused according to their ability. The third thing that they are excused from is the time. The time in which they pray the salah. The Shaykh says, وَإِنْ شَقَّ عَلَيْهِ فِعْلُ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ فِي وَقْتِهَا. If it becomes difficult for the musalli, for the person to pray every salah at its prescribed time, فَلَهُ الْجَمْعُ, then it's permissible for him to combine بين الظهر والعصر, between ظهر and عصر, وبين العشاءين, and the two ishas. The two ishas being maghrib and isha. في وقت أحدهما, at the time of one of them. So if a person is ill to the extent that they cannot pray every salah at its time, because the asl is inna salata kanat ala al-mu'minina kitaban mawquta. The asl, the origin, is that the Muslim prays every salah at its designated time. Like the Shaykh says, if the Muslim finds it difficult to pray the salah or every salah at its time, then it's permissible for him to combine. طيب. When combining, there are only two prayers that are combined, or four prayers that can be combined. Dhuhr and Asr can be combined, and Maghrib and Isha. Fajr cannot be combined with Dhuhr, nor can it be combined with Isha. صح? طيب. When combining, there's also two methods of doing so. You can either pray both prayers, meaning Dhuhr and Asr, during the time of Dhuhr, or you can pray them during the time of Asr. The first is called what? Jam'u Taqdeem. Ahsan. The second is called Jam'u Ta'khir. The first is called Jam'u Taqdeem, the Jam' or the combining of rushing or proceeding, or the earlier Jam'. Or Jam'u Ta'khir, the later Jam', the Jam' or the combining of both prayers at the later time. And likewise for Isha. So a person is allowed to combine if they are ill. طيب. There are other reasons that can excuse a person from the jama'ah, and also in terms of the position that they pray in. طيب. In order, if we do them, al-marad, illness, that has already preceded, صح? We've already talked about it. The mu'allif brings it in the matan. The second one is hudur al-ta'am, the bringing of food or food being presented. Then the Messenger salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi said, إذا وضع عشاء أحدكم, if the asha or the dinner or the meal of one of you is put in front of you, وأقيمت الصلاة, and the salah has been, or the iqamah has been called for the salah, فابدأوا بالعشاء, then start with the asha. ولا يعجلن حتى يفرغ منه, and let him not rush up until he finishes with it, or finishes his desire from it. طيب. And the Messenger also sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا صلاة بحضرة الطعام, there is no salah with the presence of food. طيب. What is the illah, the reason for the person who is presented with food being excused from attending the jama'ah?
Is it because the person won't have khushu'? If he's presented food.
طيب. أحسنت. طيب. He won't have khushu'. So the reason why a person is excused from the jama'ah is عدم الخشوع. There's going to be no khushu'. The person is always going to be thinking about what he has left behind. طيب. Now that you know the illah, that you know the reason, give me other scenarios where it's permissible for the person to not pray the jama'ah for this reason alone. Lack of khushu'.
Would it be if...
One sec. Yeah, this hand up.
When
Huh?
he's feeling sleepy?
When he's feeling sleepy. أحسنت. طيب. أحسنت.
What about if...
لكن he needs to pray طبعا صح.
if you're receiving an important phone call or an important message that can distract you?
أحسنت. صحيح. If you're waiting for important phone call, go on. We're coming to that. لكن there is a reason. أحسنت. There is a reason for not attending the jama'ah. Lakin I left that down because obviously it's the next one that we're going to talk about, and it has been specifically mentioned in the hadith. طيب. What about a person walking towards the masjid, coming into the masjid, and the jama'ah has started already, and he realizes he left his phone in the car. Is it permissible for him to go back, or is it wajib for him to start the salah? Start the salah? طيب ليش? Why is that? It's only a phone, huh? It's only food. It depends, he's not going to die of this food. Leaving out food doesn't, you won't die leaving out one meal.
Take the same principle as the others. Maybe he has important information on the phone, if he uses it, it can distract him in salah.
طيب. Bas. Go back to the illah. Just go back to the illah. Is the illah present? Huh? Yes. Why is that? He's always going to be thinking about the phone. And it's not necessarily him wanting to look at WhatsApp or anything like that. No. It could be because the car's going to get broken into. So, the car can get broken into.
Does that depend on the country where he lives?
It depends on the country, it depends on the community. If you live in an area where there's a lot of crackers, for example, they can break into the car in a minute. Especially if it rings. Especially if it rings. طيب, لكن if you're near the haram, it's not the end of the world if you leave your phone in the car. So طبعا it does depend on the location. طيب, give me other examples. Now that you have the illah, give me other examples.
Maybe if something has happened with a family relative, they either got ill or it's an emergency, or they can't play salah, where they're going to focus on what's going on.
أحسنت. صح. For example, مثلا الآن you're at home and then one of your siblings has an accident and their hand is cut off or there's a lot of blood coming out and so on. You can't say, Yallah, I'm going to the masjid and going for a jama'ah. Because when you get to the jama'ah, you're always going to be thinking about has the amulet survived, has it not arrived, and what's going on and so on. Also, if you're with a person who's on his deathbed, it's one of the excuses, one of the things that permits you to pray jama'ah in next to him. If you know that he's going to die, it looks like all of the signs are there for them passing away, then for you to go to the jama'ah, not only is it harsh upon this Muslim, lakin you won't have any khushu'. على كل حال, the second one is حضور الطعام, food being presented. The third one is مدافعة الأخبثين, the person pushing back the call of nature. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited the Muslim from praying the salah whilst pushing back the call of nature. And the is what? The reason is what? Lack of khushu'. Lack of khushu'. طيب. With regards to the illah, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا يقضي القاضي وهو غضبان. Let not the qadi, the judge, rule while he is غضبان. طبعا the reason is because his judgment won't be fair, because he is angry. So the illah is him not having the ability to judge accordingly. صح؟ طيب. What about if the judge is hungry? Why is that?
Because if he's hungry, he's going to think about food, and that's going to affect his judgment. The same way you mentioned the previous Sunnah as well. Affect his judgment.
It affects his judgment. طيب.
Kind of telling the person, he get like some people they get annoyed, they get angry, or they get hungry, so they might make a wrong judgment on that, or they might try to rush the judgments and the
It's true, yeah. it will affect the person's judgment. If a person is hungry, he might just want to finish this case immediately, and he might want to rush it because he's hungry, he wants to eat. Likewise if he's angry. So knowing the illah in general helps you combine a lot of masail. The fourth one is أكل البصل والثوم والكراثي وما له رائحة كريهة. Eating garlic and anything, onions and anything else that has a foul smell. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "من أكل ثوما أو بصلا فليعتزلنا أو فليعتزل مسجدنا." Let him be distant from us and let him not come to our masjid. طيب. The reason is because you're harming the other believers. You're harming the Muslims and you're preventing them from attending the masjid. Or you're preventing them from praying their salah with khushu'. And that's why the scholars say that even for Salatul Jum'ah, مثلا, if a person smells, then it's wajib for them to take ghusl. So in the masala that is famous, that is it's sunnah or wajib to have a ghusl yawm al-jum'ah. Both sets of scholars say that if a person smells or has a foul odor coming out from him or her, then it's wajib for them to have a ghusl yawm al-jum'ah. Likewise, if a person has a foul smell coming out of them, it's haram, impermissible for them to attend the jama'ah because they're going to be harming the other musalleen, the other believers. طيب. The hadith mentions basal, onions and garlic and so on. And the illah, the reason is what? The foul odor harming believers, harming the musalleen. طيب. What else can come under this? Ahsant. Smoking can come under this specific section. Why? Because if a person smokes, there's always going to be a foul smell coming out of them, their clothes, their mouth and so on. And the musalli next to him will constantly have to do or cover their mouth and nose. So he's harming the Muslims. What else? Someone not having a ghusl in a long time. It's going to smell up. He's going to smell, sah? That sort of person as well. طيب. What else? Alcohol. All of the other drugs that have a foul smell. All of these come under this specific point, which is that if a person has something that smells or takes, whether it's intoxicants or whether it's food that is halal, basal and garlic, they're halal. Like it's impermissible because you're harming the rest of the believers. طيب. The fifth thing that prevents a person from attending the jama'ah is al-khawf, fear. على نفسه, fear upon himself, or ماله, or his wealth, or على من يلزمه الذب عنه بهلاك, or his family. If he fears for them, then it's permissible for him to not pray in the jama'ah. For example, if there's a lot of fitan going around, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, and or if you attend the masjid and you leave your house unattended or with women and children inside, you feel or you have a fear that people will come and attack your home, then it's permissible to stay in the house or stay at home. طيب. Al-matar, rain. Number 6, rain is also one of the things that prevent a Muslim from attending a masjid and praying Salatul Jama'ah. And the illah is al-mashaqqa, is the difficulty that a person may experience when walking towards the masjid. Walking towards the masjid. So if it rains, for example, and the rain is a lot, and it's raining at dhuhr time, for example, or maghrib time. Alan is maghrib, sah? If we were to walk to the masjid and it was raining, if it would be raining when we're walking to the masjid, and the rain is abundant and it's still raining after the jama'ah has finished, then it's the sunnah for the imam to also pray Salatul Isha immediately after Salatul Maghrib. It's from the sunnah. Likewise, Salatul Dhuhr, if a person attends the masjid at Dhuhr time and it is raining, and that rain doesn't look like it's going to stop, and it's difficult for the Musallin, the Muslims, to reach the masjid, mud everywhere and drains and the water all over and there's floods, and it's difficult for them to attend the masjid, then it's permissible to pray the jama'ah in the masjid or at home. In the masjid or at home. So with regards to the matar, the sunnah is also combined in the masjid. If a person is praying in the masjid, then to combine. Why? Because it's difficult for them to come out. Like, if they stay at home, they should also pray the salah. طبعا the salah on it, every salah at its given time. Also likewise, extreme coldness. When it's very, very cold, minus or whatever, and it's difficult for the Muslims to come out to the masjid, and they find it difficult, then it's permissible for them to also pray at home. What can come under this specific principle or this specific topic?
The violence outside.
Like the violence comes under fear. Snowing. Some time ago, I think early 2018, there were almost 2-3 weeks of consecutive, and the rain was, or the snow was consistent. Sah? To the extent that if a person is driving and they want to go that way, the car will go that way. In that situation, it's permissible to pray at home due to the mashaqqa. طيب. How many excuses have we mentioned for Salat al-Jama'ah? For being excused from Salat al-Jama'ah? How many excuses did we mention? 6. Al-Marad, the first one. حضور الطعام. مدافعة الأخبثين. 3. Eating onions and garlic. Number 4. Al-Khawf, fear. Number 5. Number 6 is rain. Number 7, extreme coldness. And you can include there, under that, you can include snow. So the illah for some of these excuses is al-mashaqqa, sah? The difficulty that a person may experience in going to the masjid, such as rain, such as snow and so on. طيب. Some of these ilal, or the illah for some of these, is عدم الخشوع, not having the ability to, not having khushu' or not being able to concentrate in the salah. And concentrating or having khushu' in salah is one of the most important parts of the salah. طيب. We'll stop there inshallah. Next week we'll carry on, or the week after we'll carry on with Salatul Musafir. طيب. As a suggestion, it would be good if we studied a short book on Al-Qawa'id Al-Fiqhiyya. Sheikh Abdul Rahman Nasir Al-Sa'idi has a small treatise. It's about 34 lines of poetry. He combines some of the most important principles related to al-fiqh. Some of the most important principles related to fiqh. And if a student combines these principles or studies these principles and looks at all of the things that will come underneath or that can come underneath these principles, then it will help them not only when seeking knowledge and not only in understanding the books of knowledge or the books of the scholars, but also in terms of their day-to-day lives. For example, المصالح مقدم على أو جلب دفع المفاسد مقدم على جلب المصالح. From the principles is that removing harm or preventing harm takes precedence over bringing about some sort of benefit. So if a person is faced with two issues in our day-to-day lives, and one of them has harm and the other has a lesser harm, then from the Sharia is the person takes the lesser of the two evils. Likewise, if a person is faced with two good things or two khayrs, then he takes the one which is more virtuous. So qawaid al-fiqhiyya is very important for the student of knowledge to study, especially it will complement Manhaj As-Saalikeen. And the منظومة will be قواعد الفقهية لإمام السعدي.